Hey everybody, Shawn Tubbs here. Thanks for tuning in. Got an amp to show you today. This one's made by a company called Plate, and the model is called the Blues Machine. Really great 50 watt amplifier. It's based on 3 different Fender style circuits. So you've got a black face circuit, you've got a brown face circuit, and you've also got a tweed circuit via a mode switch. Now this amp is a 50 watt amp, but it's also switchable down to 18 watts via the high-low power mode. It can run at fixed bias or cathode bias. And I believe if you run it at cathode bias, you can actually use 6v6s if sound levels are an issue. But for the most part, the master is extremely usable on this guy. And also the fact that it does switch down to 18 watts, you can get it pretty darn quiet. Now it's a 2-channel amp. It's got a clean channel and a drive channel. Let's just look at the clean channel really quick. What you get on the clean channel is a gain and volume. So gain is the input to the channel, volume is the output of the channel to basically to the power amp of the amplifier. You have a tone which is sweepable, which is very similar to the really great Fender tone circuits, but even better. And you have what's called the mode control, which I alluded to earlier. It'll give you either a black face type of tonality, or a brown face type of tonality, or a tweed type of tonality. Really, really great control. On the second channel, which is the overdrive channel, now this is a cascading channel, you get a gain control and a drive control. And it's the same thing. Gain is the input to that channel, and then you have drive, which is the amount of overdrive, and then you have a level, which is going to give you the amount of level, so you can balance it against your clean tone. After that, you've got reverb and presence control and a master control, which is super, super usable. Now the global controls are going to be in the far left-hand side at the input. You've got a 3-way switch. That's your brightness control. So in the down position, the first position, you're going to add a little bit more top end. In the second position, which is the up position, you're going to have the most amount of top end. In the middle, it's going to be neutral. And I found that really useful, especially with humbuckers. I used it in the second position, thought it sounded great, but it just depends on the guitar you have and how you're applying the amp. The other global control, obviously, is the mode control, which is going to give you a black face or a brown face type tonality or a tweed tonality. Now there's 2 positions in each one of these, and you can sweep them across, and you'll be able to check that out in the actual demo of the amp. The other universal or global control is obviously reverb, and presence is global on this amp. Really great sounding amplifier. On the back side of the amp, I mentioned fixed and cathode, high-low power, but you can also choose between basically neutral or what would be considered a smooth setting. And I don't know the engineering behind that. I can't give you the technical specifics, but yeah, in the smooth setting, the amp does sound smoother. It's a little bit more compressed, a little bit less aggressive sounding. You can also choose between humbuckers. If you're playing mainly humbuckers, you can actually choose. There's a switch back there that allows you to choose for a humbucker guitar or a single coil guitar. Now, as far as I understand, this is not an impedance thing. It's just more of a subtle voicing thing that makes the amp work better either way. And I found in the demo, I actually left it in single coil, and it sounded great. In the actual talking point demo that's coming up, I actually left it in humbucker because I'm going to use my my PRS McCarty. And the way I'm demoing this amp is basically as the amplifier. Now this is a killer pedal platform amplifier in channel 1. I'm not going to go there. If you would like to hear this in that platform, I did do a demo of the Wampler Tumnus, and I used Tumnus, and I used this amp as the pedal platform. It takes pedals really well. No issues there. But I really wanted you guys to hear this as a standalone amp, and that's how I used it in the performance piece as well. So yeah, without further ado, let's check out this Red Plate Blues Machine. Okay, you guys, let's check out this Blues Machine amp by Red Plate. I'm going to use my PRS McCarty 58 for this one. Let's just start by listening to a clean tone. Really sweet kind of Fendery tone. Right now it's in the black mode. There's two modes, or I should say two switches in each mode. And while we're on that, let's just go ahead and listen to that. So what I'll do is I'll start all the way to the left in the first mode setting, which is the first of the black settings. So, and I'll just kind of sweep it across. So you can hear there's quite a bit of versatility just right there without even touching anything else. So that's kind of what that does. You know, when you're on the black face side, it's going to be more clean. But if you get all the way over to the tweed side, it's going to be a little more broken up. And it also obviously changes mid characteristics and low end characteristics. I found that I liked it the best when I was recording with it in the kind of second position of the brown mode. I thought that was really great. It just kind of had this really nice kind of breakup, but just an overall feel that I was really impressed with. That's that channel. Now the tone and the mode applies to both channels, and I'll go ahead and sweep the tone really quick. Super usable, really simple but so complex sounding. It was really easy to use that to just dial in tones as opposed to always messing around with mid and treble and bass. I could just kind of sweep that around between this and the mode switch until I had my sweet spot. Now there's also real quick a bright switch, and that does apply to both channels. So right now it's off, so it would be in the middle position. If you put it in the number 1 position, which is down, it's going to add a little bit more top end. If you put it in the 2 position, which is up, it'll add quite a bit more top end. Which I really like, because with humbuckers, it just sounded sweeter. It was nice and open up top. So let's go ahead and just jump to the drive channel. I'll leave this set the way it is, and we'll switch to channel 2. I'm going to use the Footswitch. You can do it from the front of the amp if you wish, but I've got the Footswitch here in front of me, so I'll just hit the drive channel. So really cool, kind of what I would consider kind of a brown face, kind of broken up tone. Now real quick, before I even change the amount of drive, I'm just going to go ahead and use the pull shift. What that's going to do is give you a little bit more drive, but it's also going to add some top end and some kind of mid characteristic to it. So you can get quite a bit of gain there, and I haven't even started moving the actual gain at the front end of the channel. I've just been using the drive. And basically the way that works is if you want it to sound smoother, use less gain and more drive. So that's going to be more of like almost a solo voice. But if you wanted it to sound a little more aggressive, you could use less drive and maybe go more gain. A little bit more angry. There's less gain there. And you could turn up the drive. But you can hear how it's more aggressive. And that's the thing I like about this circuit is, you know, you can just kind of, just by manipulating gain and volume and gain and drive, you can get all kinds of different tones, which is awesome. Now, speaking of this channel, another thing you can do that's really cool is you can add boost. There's a boost switch on this amp via Footswitch. So I'll go ahead and kick that in. So here's no boost. And here's boost. Now say you hit the boost mode and you feel like, wow, I love that amount of gain that it's giving me, but it's a little too bright. You do have a pull high cut on the level. So check this out. So that's with the high cut. I can push that back in. So there's all kinds of ways to just dial this guy in to get exactly what you want out of it. That's kind of where I ended up with it for kind of the solo voices. But yeah, that's that channel. Now, one thing I do want to show you really quick within this channel, and it works for both channels, but the other thing you can add, not only can you switch to a drive channel from clean, you can also add boost, but you can also switch with modes, with what is called the tweed switch. So it's going to allow you basically to jump 2 settings. So in other words, if I was in the black, first setting in the black mode and I hit the tweed switch, it would put me to the first setting in the brown mode automatically. Or in this case, with me being in the second switch setting of the brown mode, it would put me to the last switch setting in the tweed mode. So I'll let you hear kind of how that sounds. We'll kind of just stay on the drive channel for a second. That's the brown mode. Here's the tweed mode. So that gives you even more tonal variation via the Footswitch, because now you can go from clean to drive to the tweed setting to the boost setting. So just simply by having the 3 switches in front of me, I was able to get all kinds of tones out of this amp, even though it's a really simple tone stack, and it's a 2-channel cascading kind of thing. I was still able to drag so many tones out of it, like foot switchably. It's really well done. The last thing I want to show you really quick that I did forget about is the reverb. So let's check that out just real quick. Great sounding reverb. You know, it's actually a short tank, but it really sounds awesome. And then of course you've got presence. I don't want to forget about the presence control. I'll just sweep it real quick. Presence off. So it's a more subtle presence control, and honestly, if you're not going to use it, you can shut it off. And it makes the amp sound a little bit more open, and once again, it's just another tonal possibility. And everything can be bypassed. The tone stack can be bypassed, or I should say the tone control. Obviously this channel can be completely bypassed out of the circuit, reverb can be taken out of the circuit, and presence can be taken out of the circuit. So if you just want the amp to be wide open in to out with basically just the volume controls, you can do that too. It's another just tonal characteristic. There's a lot going on with this amp. And I could show you much more, but this would be a really long demo. But yeah, that's the Blues Machine by Red Plate. If you've got questions, definitely go to the site and ask away. And as always, I appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll see you next time.